So today we're going to talk about the prenatal to, for example, the prenatal development towards like early teen, late infancy. So as we know, this is the picture of where life all starts. This is super zoomed in photos of these are sperms harassing an egg trying to get in. This is one sperm successfully moving in, and we know that once the sperm moves into the egg, that the genetics of the two cells, one from the man, one from the woman, fuse together to create new DNA. And I'll talk about the different stages of what happens after this in different stages inside the mother's womb. Basically, we go through 3 periods: the zygote, the embryo, and the fetus. And I'm going to give you the kind of time frame that we have. The zygote basically is usually up to 2 weeks, from conception to 2 weeks. The embryo from 2 weeks to 8 weeks. And the fetus now is from 9 weeks to birth, which, as you may know, is around 9 months. So basically in the zygote stage, it's basically the cells have just recently fused, and so once they fused and the DNA is kind of compacted, it replicates, becomes the cell moves up the fallopian tubes and sticks to the wall and starts to develop. From 1 cell to 2 cells to 3 cells, so on and so forth. So up to 3 weeks, it's still kind of unformed, and it's just like a basic giant massive cell. By the time it's an embryo in 2 to 8 weeks, it becomes more well-formed. Here's a picture of it right here. You can see that that's the beginning stages with which it starts to develop limbs and organs. After 9 weeks or so, you can see if it's more full-formed here, and the fetus has shape. This is a much later stage in the fetus game, and you could see like the heart starts to pump, and the brain starts to develop, so on and so forth. One thing you see here is that the child is protected by a kind of a cell, a wallpaper, you might say, its own little room called the placenta. And this is basically a barrier that prevents unwanted things to go into the baby. So the only way it gets nutrition is from the amniotic fluid that surrounds us, and also the cord, the umbilical cord that gives nutrients to the child while it's in the womb. Okay. Most of us has been through this stage. Of course, none of us remember what it's like to be inside the womb. By the time it's a fetus, at the end of it, we develop and leave the mother's womb. And there's 3 things I want to talk about in terms of the prenatal development and what are things that matter. So we talked about the placenta, which is a kind of a cell membrane that wraps the child, protects it from unwanted things. However, there's still certain things that get to the child, what we call teratogens. And basically these things could be chemical or virus-related things. For example, if chemically, if the pregnant mother uses cocaine during the pregnancy, the cocaine is actually going to go through the bloodstream, through the placenta, into the child. That's one of the few things that can go through the placenta. And so the child's going to be likely to be addicted to cocaine too, unfortunately. It could also be a virus, so a mother with AIDS is likely to pass on the AIDS virus to the child. So those are kind of unwanted negative chemicals or viruses that affect the child's development. One of the more serious ones is fetal alcohol syndrome, and that's basically when the mother drinks while she's pregnant, the child experiences some of that alcohol too. And so the alcohol can have a negative effect on the child, usually stunting its brain development and leading to mental retardation. There's also physical changes to the person with fetal alcohol syndrome. For example, they have smaller heads, they have brain abnormalities, and they have other kind of birth defects related to the face. So there's really no research on what is a safe level of alcohol. It seems like any alcohol can affect the child negatively, especially even one binge drinking session can really kill a massive number of brain cells in your child. And that's just unwanted.